Hey again, it's Mark, and this is the fourth in a little series I'm doing of some ground training exercises. So let's kind of recap. So we did getting propulsion. Did okay at that, not as well as I want. I need to work on that. The idea being to get my horse to take off at a full canter from the stop, doing circles if that's what I want. And I'll get that, but it's going to take a little bit of time. Then we did barrels, and we tried to get a jump both directions. Got one direction, and felt pretty good about that, but there's some work to be done, especially my horse right to left has a little bit of a challenge with some things versus left to right, which is interesting. Then we brought out the evil blue tarp, and it didn't take more than 5 or 10 minutes before I'd bull not only crossing the tarp but able to stop and stand on it. And I feel like we did pretty well there. Now, for the fourth and final segment of this series, we've got the ball. Okay, now, you notice I didn't just bring Bull out here and pick the ball and say, hey, what's he going to do when I put this up on his shoulder? I need him to come out and kind of get to know the ball. I can tell you, at least as long as I've owned this horse, he's never seen a ball like this. And knowing where he came from, I doubt he ever has. So again, he's not the most inquisitive or curious of horses, but I want to see if I can bring him out here, no emotion, try to introduce him to the ball, get him to realize there's nothing harmful there. Then maybe he'll start to accept it as I bring it up. So I'll bring it up to his brisket. I might bring it up to his hind quarter. I might bring it up his neck a little. And then finally we'll start to bring it up around the withers where a rider might be. This shouldn't be a big deal to this horse, but you never know. So let's go ahead and get started. Now we're at Liberty, but I'm not going to stay at Liberty long because we're just new to Liberty and I want this video to be worth something. So let's see if we can learn a little something. What's he going to do if I just kind of casually introduce him, stepping on his lead here. There. Now what's interesting about what just occurred there is earlier in the series he'd stepped on his lead and I had to bang on his cannon bone quite a bit before he backed up. That time it took 2 or 3 taps with the stick and he's like, yeah, I get this. So that's how quickly they learn. I'm going to move this ball a little. He doesn't seem too worried about it. In fact, his ears are pinned backwards. Not pinned, but he's clued into something later. Let's see a fly back there. Who's got this ball? He doesn't think much of it at all, does he? Boy, when I said not curious, I didn't mean didn't care at all. Where's this ball? Let's see if I bounce it into his front legs. Almost pure indifference. Yeah, I would call that indifference. Let me circle him around it a little bit and see if he cares at all. Give him a chance to introduce himself to it. Boy, he just doesn't seem to care at all. That'd tell me one of 2 things. Either it's getting late in the day and he's tired, or he's seen one of these before. Probably the latter. I'm going to get rid of my stick. And I might just see if I can get him to sniff this ball a little bit. There's an interesting smell on this ball, courtesy of one of my beagles. If you've ever owned beagles, especially male ones, you know what I'm talking about. But I did rinse it off before I brought it, so it should be clean enough to touch. There. There. Oh boy. He took a sniff. Now he shouldn't care. Take another sniff. Now I'm going to do something. Back him up a little. Probably not on the tarp, but that rope on the ground doesn't seem to bother him at all. In fact, his ears didn't even come forward. You know, these things make a weird sound just like those tarps do. You know, it's not a sound you hear in nature. But again, he's more focused on flies than he is on what I'm doing. So let me position him so we're kind of facing you, and I'll start moving this. In fact, you know what? He's probably just fine the way he is. I'll just start moving his ball and we'll see if he cares. He's kind of looking at me. There, got a little bit of like, what is that? There, good. Now there's this technique called approach and retreat. When you get a positive response like that, you just retreat, let the horse kind of think it through. Or it's called let it soak. That might not have been Bill, but I love that term. Let it soak in. Let the horse think about that just for a moment. Then go back to it. And retreat. His attention's going elsewhere. Usually I like to keep his attention for this kind of thing, but in a way that's good that he's so relaxed. I'm going to see if I can put it up on his hind quarter, see what he does there. Pretty good. You know, if all horses were like Bull, these demonstrations wouldn't be any fun at all, would they? So, we'll go ahead and go for the money here. Got a little bit of a response, but he didn't move a foot, so I'm going to retreat. A little bit of curiosity, but less of a stressful response. Praise, confidence. Now, I may as well make a comment here. Let's say your buddy or your girlfriend is standing around while you're doing this and they're gabbing and you're gabbing. I don't think you should do that, not the first time. You need to be focused on your horse's response. I know that I can't carry on a conversation with a human being and focus the way I need to on a horse when I'm doing this kind of thing. The Bull's pretty easy going, as you can see, but now he's got his little herd galloping up pasture there, or trotting real fast anyway, and so that's going to get his attention, and I need to allow that. But I need 100% of my attention focused on him so that I can read, because I want my timing to be right. And if I can't read the horse, then my timing's going to be off. So I'll do it a couple more times on this side, and if it's good, then we'll just turn it around and do the other side. In fact, I could even leave that lead on the ground. He's like, yeah, whatever. I'll still retreat. That, good. I don't slam it on top of him from up above. I come up slowly on the side. There. wind's starting to pick up again. We might see something if that tarp blows, but we'll try this game again. See those ears? They really don't even come forward. His interest in this ball is just about zero, which is a good thing. So this horse definitely taking to this stuff rather quickly, and I'm having a ball doing it. See, I think this kind of stuff's fun. I think some people think if they're not riding their horse, it's work or it's not fun. And look, I love to ride my horse, but I have just as much fun, sometimes more, doing this kind of thing. Like working on that tarp to me was a blast. And if it had taken 2 or 3 hours, I would have been just fine with that. It didn't, which I was also pleased with, but these kinds of exercises can really help you with your relationship. And I think a lot of people, this is something that they don't understand. Let me get my stick while I finish this point. You can see Bull's head moved a little when I picked up the stick. He's still a little weary about the stick. What's Mark going to do with that? I was talking to somebody just the other day about horses, and he said, well, tell me about it. And I said, you know, we call a lot of this stuff horse training, but really it's about us learning the horse's language. I mean, there certainly is a bit of this that is trying to train your horse, that, you know, do this when I say that and so forth, but when you do these kinds of exercises with your horse, your learning curve, especially if you're in the first 5 years or so of working with horses, is like that. You know, call that sipping through a fire hose. But your horse's learning curve is sort of almost flat because they already know all this stuff. So if Bull's in the pasture with his mates and one of them nips him back here, he means get forward, move your butt. Now, you see right there, Bull said, well, I think I'll go to graze. And I said, oh, no, you don't. Yeah, that's horse communication from me to him. He already knows all this stuff. And so only through spending time with your horse like this, doing exercises like I've done today, can you improve your own skills, which is going to be so much more important. I think a lot of times when I see a horse that's having problems, maybe they're chargy or they're hard to load or they kind of aggressive or whatever, it's simply that nobody has spent the time with them to teach them the rules and then also to